It's the clash that we all have been waiting for. We have Tomar Raju Kesh on our screens, the world champion with the black pieces, and this is the big one. He's taking on the world #1 Magnus Carlsen, and Kesh here, coming a bit early to the game, adjusting all his pieces with the black pieces that he has. And Leonard Udis is here, who's taking the pictures right before the game, one of the best photographers in the world of chess. After that table bang that happened in Norway, this is the first time that Magnus and GH will play against each other. GH did win that encounter. Here we have Magnus entering with his bottle of water, and he's ready for a big fight. This time, Magnus has the white pieces, and he will surely be looking for a revenge here, because in Norway, it was not a very pretty game for Magnus. He was completely winning and then lost that one. The players are ready. Handshake between them. And this, dear friends, is the ambit recap of the day. Magnus opens the game with 1c4, the English opening, and Gukesh responds back with e5. This is exactly the opening that he played against Dinglin in the World Championship match. Bishop b4. Magnus goes knight f3, hitting the pawn. Gukesh takes it, and immediately we have an imbalance here. e4 played, and Gukesh goes knight d7. Now, you must know that Vincent Keimer already played this in February 2025 at the Prague Masters against Samuel Shankland. This line bishop goes back. Knight comes in. The knights are attacking the pawn. The black bishop is ready to enter the game. So very smooth position for black. But white has the bishop pair. a5 played here by black, trying to cement the knight on c5. Knight d2. I absolutely love this idea that Magnus has to swivel his knight to the center looking at these squares. g6 by Gukesh. Not particularly a great move, weakening the dark squares. He seems to have messed up something in his opening preparation. Knight f1 played by Magnus. And now Gukesh, after a long thing, goes bishop e6. Magnus brings his bishop out to g5, pinning the knight here, and Gukesh pushes the bishop back. Maybe come back to d2. Just say that black has weakened a bit of his kingside structure. But Magnus goes bishop h4. Not the best move, provoking Gukesh to go g5. This has both its pros and cons. The bishop is a bit misplaced, but now the f5 square is weakened, so the knight can jump in. Queen d7. Pawn comes up to f3. The bishop wants to drop back, but Gukesh moves in with the knight. Knight e3 played. A very positional game is developing here. Gukesh goes knight f4, attacking the queen. The queen moves to the side. Queen d2. And here Gukesh has many ways to continue calmly. a4 seems like a good idea, but Gukesh is someone who's very aggressive. He goes b5. Very interesting move. If you take queen b5, black has excellent play. So Magnus goes knight d5. He's threatening knight f6 check. King d8 or something would be too difficult to play for a human being. That's the best move by the engine. Gukesh takes the knight in the center. Pawn takes has happened, and knight h5. Not a great idea here. Maybe king e7 was better. And already Magnus is in a very, very nice position. He has domination here with an excellent structure space. The two bishops, which will become very, very good. h4 could be on the cards at some point. King f8. Gukesh, of course, has a bad position. 12 minutes against 20. He's 8 minutes down on the clock. Magnus is dominating here and would be looking at the revenge that he can take. g3 played. Another nice move stopping the knight from jumping to f4 later. h4 could be played. Gukesh goes with his king to g7, and you can see there Magnus looking very relaxed. He knows that he's better. It's already close to +2 advantage here. Rook g1 played, putting the rook opposite the king. f4 could also be on cards here. Knight f6 played by Gukesh, trying to hang in there as long as he can make one good move at a time, is what Gukesh always tries to do. And Magnus, instead of playing on the king's side, opens it up on the queen's side and shakes his head a bit. He has 12 minutes on the clock. Gukesh has 11. And this move b4 is not particularly great because after takes he gets some counterplay with knight coming to a4. The rook has opened up along the a-file. Maybe it was not in Magnus's best interest to open the queen side, but knight a4. And now g4 followed by h4 is good. But bd3, not a great move by Magnus. Attacking b5, Gukesh finds an incredible resource, c6. And his point is after you take, which Magnus does, he instantly breaks open the center with d5. Magnus is suddenly feeling the change and shift of the pace of the game. d5. Knight takes d5 taken by Gukesh. The knight is attacking the b4 pawn. Also the bishop here on e3. a3 played by Magnus defending here. How is Gukesh going to continue? Well, one of the key ideas is to bring the rook into the center, line it up against the queen. And for white now, the king is not particularly safe on e1. Meanwhile, the king on g7 is looking safer than before. Rook comes to c1, defending the pawn on c6. Magnus, of course, has to now be very careful because GH is coming in with some great moves. Rook d6. He's intending to double here and put pressure in the center. And now bishop takes b5 taken, which is perhaps not the best move. GH has knight c3, which is an incredible move. He's attacking the bishop, he's attacking the queen, and look at Gukesh there zoning in. Knight c3. The position is now very, very complex. If you move the queen, you lose the bishop. But bishop c5 pinning here is a great move. If you take on d2, I'll take on e7. White is winning. So knight b5, bishop d6, knight d6. GH has 2 knights for a rook and 2 pawns. And these pawns are pretty strong, but the knights are blockading it, and it's not so easy to move these pawns down the board. He wants to put his knight on c4 when then he's attacking a3 as well. Queen d3 is a fine move because now he controls the c4 square here. But GE increases the pressure on c4. Magnus under pressure here. He is also going low on time. He has just 1 minute 30 seconds while Gukesh has 5 minutes 30 seconds. Things are changing here. And now e4 is an incredibly strong move. Will Gukesh find it? He does. e4. Brilliant move. Taking here is lost because of knight e4 check. Magnus goes queen d4 check. f6 is possible, but you could simply move the king back. He plays his king back. Now the knights are ready to jump once again. And rook d1 mistake. Rook e1 was much better. And now Gukesh has a choice. If, by the way, knight is hanging, you can move the knight. But the best move is e takes f3, threatening queen e2 mate. So you have to be careful. Rook e5 is a blunder. Rook c2 was the only move. Look at GE there zoning in. He knows he has the win. This is what Gukesh does like a hawk. He just eyes his prey and then locks it in. And the winning move here is queen h3, finishing it off. GH tries to look here. I think he spotted the move and goes for it with 4 minutes 39 seconds. Magnus, with just 35 seconds, takes the pawn on h3. You can see the displeasure on Magnus' face. He's losing here. Knight to c4 played here by Gukesh. He could have taken on a3. It was also winning here. But knight c4 is very solid. Rook a5 trying to stop this ideas of rook a3. But now just take knight a5. Pawn takes. Guess is a piece up. But you have these 3 mangled up pawns. He comes back with a check. King goes to g2. Another check. King goes down and Gukesh, you can see that spark in his eyes. It's not a one where you feel nervous. It's one of excitement. And I think that's the King e2 and the knight jumps in. Knight to e5 played, and Magnus knows that the writing is on the wall. He's going to lose the most important pawn here, which is the pawn on c6. He plays his queen to e7, and Gukesh can simply chop this off. Knight takes c6 is winning. Again, Gukesh has managed his time in excellently well. Knight c6. Queen comes back to e4. And here, rook takes a5, threatening rook e5 should be game over. There's just one check. You can come up and Gukesh just calculating this through, not wanting to make any final errors in the game. And he takes it, and Magnus resigns with a nod of the head. Gukesh has defeated Magnus Carlsen for the second time in a row. First in Norway chess, second time here. And this one was a very special win because Guk outplayed Magnus in the middle game. But one thing here to notice is how Guk calmly places the pieces back. Not even a smile on his face. That's the humility of a champion. He scores a win, and he's leading the tournament with 5 wins in a row. If there was one key moment in the game, it was this one where Magnus, instead of playing on the king's side with h4, went b4. And after takes, knight a4, when he played bishop d3, he was expecting Gukesh to play passively with queen d7 when he could build up with a3, rook c1, just play on both wings on the queen side as well as king side. But this is where Gukesh showed his class. He played his pawn to c6, and after taking, he pushed the pawn to d5, and before even Magnus could readjust himself to the new situation, Gukesh had started to put a lot of pressure on Magnus, and this is how the world #1 eventually collapsed. It was because of Gukesh's quick thinking here.